Well, I guess to me it was the political polarization. I mean, it's not a surprise that we've got a very dysfunctional government, but it was to see how, with the development, the year they were born, of Fox, MSNBC, and the introduction of The Daily Show, which was immediately separating everybody to points where they were only listening to what they wanted to hear, and so on. And so we've had two-term presidents, but with no real mandate. That political polarization, I think, really hit me.
Yeah, and the two things for me was how much this is a visual generation. The fact that they really like celebrity selfies much more. I mean, they value those more than they value autographs. The binge watching on their iPhones. The extent to which I think they are now going to be the first generation that may be educated to some extent by video, much more of a video generation. And then the second thing, of course, is the sort of way in which technology has blocked parental oversight. They don't have to hide dirty magazines under the mattress because they're all digitalized. Parents can't look out the window and see what a rough crowd they're hanging out with in the neighborhood park because they're not hanging out in the neighborhood park, they're on Skype. So, I know that parents have this rating system now whereby they can determine the level of violence on a TV program, and that would be great if only their offspring, as they get older, were watching TV on TV, but they're not. They're watching it on tablets and laptops and smartphones.
Tom and I had gotten into some conversations regarding the rise of a new, seemed like an art form on the relatively new internet, where people seemed to like to put together lists, and there were lists for everything. I mean, I think it was around that time that the Book of Lists came out, and so we started exchanging this list, and Tom and I were not alone. There were a number of people on campus that contributed to it, and it's circulated. And then sort of like, I can only compare it to Post-its and Teflon, somehow it surprised us one day by finding out that it really had an application, in that we got a call from the Wall Street Journal. How it got there, we had no idea, but somebody called and said, "Is this yours? Did Beloit College do this? We'd like to talk to you." And from that point on, we were just getting this massive following, and that's really how it began.
Ever since baby boomers, it's my generation, there's been a certain kind of generational consciousness. I think boomers thought of themselves as a sort of set-apart generation, and the same was true of Gen X. And they were comparing themselves to, the differences between, they were comparing themselves to the baby boomers. And so there was this absorbing curiosity about this current generation, right? Because we got in the habit of defining generations, particularly with the internet. It just seemed like culture was changing extremely fast. And people were sort of wondering, hey, is there anything that kind of unites this culture, right? Any common themes? And so I think that's another reason why the list became popular, took off, because it allowed people to talk about this whole question of this generation and also talk about the larger culture.
Occasionally we would get messages from people that we were downgrading, that we were making fun of these students, and we were treating them as dumb.
Yeah, not at all.
And there's none of that in the list. The list there is nothing in there about they never heard of or they don't know and so on. It's all about the experiences in their lives that have affected the way in which they do know things. So it's not a they don't know, it's what they do know and how it will change
their mindset.